The transport shuttle touched down on Station Tal 7 with barely a whisper, looked out the window at the massive dome structure ahead. It was bigger than anything she had ever seen. The station floated in neutral space, far from any star system. This was where the Galactic Council met. This was where species came to talk, to trade, to make peace. "Nervous?" asked from the seat beside her. He was tall and broad-shouldered, wearing the dark uniform of human security forces. Shook her head. "No, just careful." The shuttle doors opened and the human delegation walked out into the docking bay. The air tasted different here. Filtered, clean, almost too clean. Missed the smell of Earth already, even though they had only been gone for 3 days. A tall figure waited for them at the entrance. He stood on 2 legs, but that was where the similarity to humans ended. His skin was covered in dark green scales that caught the light. His eyes were yellow with vertical slits for pupils. Sharp teeth showed when he spoke. "Humans," the creature said. His voice was deep and rough. "I am ambassador of the Empire, follow me." Stepped forward. "I'm diplomatic representative of Earth. Thank you for meeting with us." Looked at her for a long moment. His eyes moved up and down, studying her. Then he turned and walked away without another word. The humans followed. The hallways of Station Tal 7 were enormous. They had to be realized. Thousands of different species used this place. Some were small, like humans. Others were massive, towering 3 times as tall. Some walked on legs. Others floated or crawled or rolled. They entered the council chamber. It was a circular room with seats rising in tiers all around. At the center was a flat arena floor. Hundreds of aliens sat in the seats, representing dozens of different worlds. They all turned to look at the humans. "Welcome," said a voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. A figure appeared in the center of the arena. It was tall and thin, with skin that shimmered like oil on water. "I am, or arbiter of the council. We have gathered to hear Earth's petition for trade rights." Walked to the arena floor. Her footsteps echoed in the huge space. "Thank you, Arbiter. Humanity seeks only peaceful trade and exchange of knowledge. We offer our technology, our art, our—" "Soft words," interrupted. He stood up in his seat, looking down at her. "Prey species always speak of peace, but the galaxy is not safe for the weak." Murmurs ran through the crowd. Some aliens nodded. Others watched in silence. "We are not weak," said calmly. "We simply prefer peace to war." Laughed. It was a harsh, barking sound. "You prefer peace because you cannot win war. Your kind have no claws, no venom, no armor. You are small and soft. You are prey pretending to be predators." Felt tense beside her, but she raised a hand slightly. "Stay calm," the gesture said. "They have conquered 40 systems," continued. "We know strength. We know what it takes to survive, and I see no strength in you." Or's voice rang out. "Ambassador, these accusations are—" "Not accusations, facts," crossed his arms. "I will not allow the Empire to trade with a species that cannot defend itself. It would make us look weak by association." "We can defend ourselves," said. Her voice was still calm, but there was steel underneath now. "Prove it," said. He smiled, showing all his teeth. "The Council has an ancient tradition, the beast trial. Each species brings forth its most dangerous creature. We see who has truly earned the right to be called a predator species." The chamber erupted in noise. Aliens called out in dozens of languages. Some seemed excited, others looked worried. Or raised his hand and silence fell. "The beast trial has not been invoked in over a century. It is extreme." "But it is allowed," said, "and I invoke it now, unless the humans are too afraid." Looked up at him. She knew what he was doing. He was trying to make her refuse, to make humanity look weak in front of the entire council. If she backed down now, Earth would never get fair trade agreements. They would block them at every turn. But if she agreed— She thought about home, about the forests and oceans, about the long history of her species, about what humans had survived, what they had overcome, about what waited back on the shuttle. "We accept," said clearly. The chamber exploded in noise again, leaned close to her ear. "Are you sure about this?" Nodded slightly. "Call the ship, tell them to prepare her for transport." His eyes widened slightly, then he nodded. He understood. Looked pleased. "Excellent. The trial will take place in 1 hour. That should give you time to prepare." The way he said the last word made it clear he thought the humans had no chance. Or spoke again. "The rules are simple. Each species presents their apex predator. The creatures will face each other in the arena. The last one standing wins. No weapons, no interference, only the beasts themselves." Bowed slightly to the arbiter. "We understand. 1 hour." As the humans left the chamber, heard the aliens talking. They were placing bets, she realized. Most of them were betting against humanity. They had seen the apex beast before. They knew what it could do. They had no idea what humans could do. Back in the shuttle was already on the communication panel. "The ship confirms. They're loading her into a transport pod now. She'll be here in 45 minutes. "Good," said. She sat down and closed her eyes for a moment. She let herself remember home, remember training, remember the bond between human and... Said softly, "What if this goes wrong?" She opened her eyes and looked at him. "It won't, trust me. More importantly, trust her." Nodded slowly. "I do, but the council has no idea what they're about to see." Smiled. "No, they don't, and that's exactly the point." Outside, the station prepared for the trial. The arena was being cleared. Medical teams were standing by. They were already bringing their beasts to the holding area. The hour passed quickly, too quickly for some, not quickly enough for others. And then it was time. The council chamber was packed. Every seat was filled. Aliens from across the galaxy had come to watch. Some had traveled for days just to see this moment. The beast trial was rare, and everyone knew the apex beast had never lost. Stood alone on one side of the arena floor. The ground beneath her feet was made of some kind of metal that absorbed sound. The silence was heavy, pressing down on her shoulders. Above, thousands of eyes watched her every move. On the other side of the arena, a massive door began to open. The sound of metal grinding against metal echoed through the chamber. Behind the door, something moved in the shadows. Stood at the edge of his viewing platform. He spread his arms wide, speaking to the crowd. "Behold, the pride of the Empire, the perfect predator, the unstoppable hunter, I present to you." A huge containment unit rolled out through the door. It was made of thick metal bars, each one as wide as arm. Inside the cage, something massive shifted and growled. The sound was low and rumbling like distant thunder. "Thee is the apex predator of our," continued. His voice was full of pride. "For thousands of years our ancestors feared these creatures. They ruled our planet. They feared nothing." The cage stopped in the center of the arena. The creature inside moved forward, pressing against the bars. Could see it more clearly now. It was huge, at least 12 feet tall, maybe more. Its body was covered in thick, armored plates that looked like stone. 6 powerful limbs ended in claws as long as daggers. Its head was massive, with a mouth full of teeth that curved backward. Its eyes glowed a sickly yellow color in the arena lights. "They can survive in any environment," said. "Its armor can withstand plasma fire. Its claws can cut through steel. It can track prey across an entire continent by scent alone. It can run at speeds of over 60 miles per hour, and it never, ever stops once it has chosen its target." The creature roared. The sound was so loud that some of the smaller aliens in the crowd covered their ears. The bars of the cage rattled. Could feel the vibration through the floor. From the observation deck, a voice crackled over the communication system. It was Minyu, the human. He had stayed in the safety of the viewing area to monitor the situation. Minyu's voice was tight with worry. I'm reading the creature's biometrics. This thing isn't just natural, they've enhanced it. Genetic modifications, augmented muscles, enhanced sensory organs. This is a war beast. Didn't respond. She just kept watching It was watching her too. Those yellow eyes locked onto her and she could see intelligence there. This wasn't just a mindless animal. It was a hunter. It knew how to kill. The human may choose to forfeit now, said. There is no shame in recognizing superior strength. But his tone said otherwise. He wanted her to run. He wanted humanity to look weak. Took a step forward, then another. She walked closer to the cage even as other aliens gasped in shock. The tracked her movement, its massive head following her. Drool dripped from its jaws, hissing when it hit the arena floor. She stopped about 20 feet from the cage. She looked up at the creature. It was huge. It was armored. It was designed to kill. And then slowly smiled. The smile became a chuckle. The chuckle became a laugh. Threw back her head and laughed, the sound echoing through the silent chamber. The entire arena fell silent. Even the seemed confused, tilting its massive head. His eyes narrowed. You dare to mock the... Turned to look up at him, still smiling. Mock it? No, I'm just amused. Amused? His voice was dangerous now. You find death amusing. I find your definition of apex predator amusing, said. She gestured at the beast. This is impressive, I'll give you that. Big, strong, fast, scary teeth. But you asked for humanity's apex predator. You wanted to see what we fear, what we had to survive. She walked in a slow circle, her hands behind her back. She looked calm, relaxed, like she was teaching a class, not facing a creature that could rip her apart. On Earth, said, my ancestors hunted animals far more dangerous than this with nothing but stone tools in their minds. Mammoths that weighed 10 tons. Saber-toothed cats with fangs longer than your arm. Cave bears that could crush a human skull with one paw. Ancient history, said, what does that matter now? It matters, said, because we won. Every single time we won. Not because we were stronger, not because we were faster, but because we were smarter, and because we learned the most important lesson in the history of evolution. She turned to face the crowd. We learned that the strongest predator isn't the one who hunts alone, it's the one who hunts with others. Or spoke, the human may now present her apex predator. Walked to the communication panel at the edge of the arena. She pressed a button. Bring her in. The crowd murmured. They looked at the doors, expecting to see another massive cage, another huge containment unit. Surely the humans had something big to counter something armored and deadly. The side door opened, stepped through. He wore his security uniform. In his right hand he held a simple leather leash. The aliens leaned forward, confused. Where was the cage? Where was the containment unit? Where was the... Then they saw what walked beside. Their confusion deepened. It was small compared to the maybe 70 pounds. It had 4 legs and a tail. Its body was covered in dark fur that was sleek and clean. Its ears stood up straight, alert. Its eyes were a bright amber color, calm and intelligent. It was just a dog. The crowd erupted in noise. Aliens called out in shock and confusion. Some laughed. Others looked offended, thinking this was some kind of joke. Stood up, his voice rising above the noise. This is your apex predator, a small furry pet. Walked across the arena floor. The dog stayed perfectly at his side, matching his pace exactly. When he stopped, she sat immediately. Her eyes never left. Walked over to them. She took the leash from and knelt down beside the dog. She ran her hand over the animal's head, and the dog's tail wagged slightly. Her name is Bora, said quietly, just two. Are they ready? Asked. Looked up at the crowd of aliens, at their confused faces, at smug expression, at the massive still in its cage. No, she said softly. They have no idea what's about to happen. She stood up and raised her hand to her mouth. She put 2 fingers between her lips. And she whistled. The whistle was sharp and clear. It cut through all the noise in the chamber like a knife. Everything changed. Bora's whole body shifted. Her ears pinned back against her head. Her tail stopped wagging and went rigid. The muscles under her dark fur coiled tight, ready to explode into action. Her amber eyes locked onto this cage, and a low growl rumbled from deep in her chest. It was a sound that made several aliens in the front row lean back in their seats. Unclip the leash. Bora, ready. The dog's growl deepened. Her lips pulled back, showing white teeth. Every part of her body was focused, tense, waiting. Laughed from his platform. You think that tiny creature can face this is an insult. Didn't look at him. She kept her eyes on Bora, watching for any sign, or opened the cage. Are you certain? The Arbiter's voice carried concern. Once released, the will not stop until. Open it, said firmly. There was a long moment of silence. Then the cage door began to rise with a mechanical hiss. The shifted forward, its massive claws scraping against the arena floor. The sound echoed like metal on stone. The beast emerged slowly, savoring the moment. It stood at its full height, 12 feet of armored death. Its yellow eyes scanned the arena, taking in everything. Then those eyes fixed on, standing small and alone in the open space. The roared. The sound was deafening. It showed every one of its backward-curved teeth, designed to hold prey that tried to escape. Saliva dripped from its jaws. It charged. The creature moved fast for something so big. Its 6 legs carried it forward in a blur of motion. The ground shook with each step. 60 miles per hour, had said. The closed the distance in seconds. Didn't move. She stood perfectly still, watching it come. 20 feet, 10 feet, 5 feet. Bora, work. The dog exploded into motion. She launched herself forward, not at this massive body, but to the side. She moved like liquid, like shadow, too fast for the huge creature to track. The claws swung where she had been a split second before, hitting nothing but air. Bora circled. She moved in a wide arc around the beast, her paws barely making a sound. The tried to turn to follow her, but she was already behind it, then beside it, then on the other side. The massive predator roared in frustration. It lashed out with one of its 6 limbs, but Bora was already gone, moving to a new position. Walked calmly to the edge of the arena. She spoke clearly, her voice carrying to the entire chamber. You wanted to see Earth's apex predator, but you're looking at the wrong species. Leaned forward. What do you mean? Dogs, said, watching Bora work, are descended from wolves, gray wolves, lupus, the most successful pack hunter to ever evolve on our planet. The spun, trying to catch Bora. It was fast, but she was faster. She darted in close, snapped at one of its rear legs, then danced away before it could retaliate. The beast roared in pain and anger. Wolves hunted across every continent except one, continued. They survived in forests, deserts, mountains, and frozen tundra. They hunted prey 10 times their size by working together, by being smart, by never giving up. Bora circled again. There was turning constantly now, trying to keep her in sight. But every time it focused on one position, she was already moving to another. From the observation deck, Minu's voice crackled over the speakers. What you're seeing is 40,000 years of evolution. Dogs didn't just evolve naturally. We made them. Humans and wolves formed a partnership before we even invented agriculture, before we built cities, before we had written language. The lunged forward, trying to use its superior size to pin Bora against the arena wall. But she dropped low, sliding under its body, then rolling away. She came up on her feet, ready, watching. They learned to read us, said. Dogs can understand human facial expressions better than any other species, including other primates. They can follow pointing gestures. They can sense our emotions. They know what we want before we say it. She raised her hand slightly, making a small gesture. Bora's position changed immediately. moving to a different angle of approach. We made them faster, stronger, smarter. We bred them for specific tasks: hunting, guarding, tracking, fighting. For 40,000 years, we perfected the partnership. It was breathing hard now. Its armored sides heaved with effort. It had never faced something like this before. Every predator it had ever fought was big, strong, direct. This small creature was none of those things. It was everywhere and nowhere. It was impossible to catch. Bora darted in again. This time she went for the creature's front leg, the one it favored. Her jaws closed on the joint between armor plates, right where the flesh was vulnerable. She bit down hard, then released and retreated before the could counter. The beast bellowed in pain. Dark blood, almost black, dripped onto the arena floor. A dog's bite force, Minyu said from the speakers, can exceed 240 pounds per square inch. Their jaws are designed to crush bone, and unlike they know exactly where to bite for maximum damage. Stood at the edge of his platform, his clawed hands gripping the railing. This proves nothing. The will adapt. Will it? Asked. She whistled again, a different pattern. Bora's behavior changed instantly. She stopped circling. Instead, she began moving in a different pattern. She would dart in, force the to turn, then retreat. Then she'd come from a different angle, make it turn again, over and over. Dogs hunt with endurance, explained. Your beast is powerful, but power requires energy. Heavy armor requires energy. All that muscle requires energy. Bora weighs 70 pounds. She can run all day and never get tired. The weighs, 2,000 pounds. How long can it keep this up? The answer was becoming clear. The movements were slowing. Its roars were coming less frequently. It was still dangerous, still deadly, but it was tiring. Bora wasn't even breathing hard. This is the lesson, said, turning to address the entire council. The biggest predator doesn't always win. The strongest doesn't always survive. Earth taught us that. We were small. We were weak. We had no claws, no armor, no venom. So we learned to be smart. We learned to be patient. We learned to work with others. She pointed at Bora. We didn't just tame a wolf. We made a partner, a companion, an ally who would die for us and we would die for them. We took a predator and made it better, made it faster, smarter, more efficient. The made one more desperate charge. It put all its remaining strength into one final attack, but Bora simply stepped aside. The massive beast crashed into the arena wall, dazed and exhausted. Put her fingers to her lips. She whistled once more. Bora stopped immediately. She sat down, her eyes still on her body still tense and ready. But she didn't attack. She just waited. Waited for command. The silence in the arena was absolute. Every alien sat frozen, trying to process what they had just seen. A creature 1/30th the size of the head completely dominated it, not through strength, not through armor, but through speed, intelligence, and perfect coordination with her human partner. His face showed something that might have been respect, or fear, maybe both. Walked across the arena floor. She stopped beside Bora and placed her hand on the dog's head. Good girl, she said softly. Bora's tail wagged once. The handlers rushed onto the arena floor. They carried heavy containment poles and neural dampeners. It took 6 of them to guide the exhausted beast back toward its cage. The creature went without much fight. It was done. Bora watched them with those alert amber eyes, but she didn't move from side. Her job was finished. Now she waited for the next command. Or's voice filled the chamber. Most impressive. I have seen many beast trials, but never one quite like this. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. Aliens turned to each other, speaking in dozens of languages. Some looked amazed, others looked worried, a few looked frightened. Descended from his platform. He walked across the arena floor toward. His movements were stiff, controlled. When he stopped in front of her, he looked down at Bora for a long moment. I underestimated you, he said finally. I thought humans were prey species, soft and weak. We are soft, agreed. Our skin tears easily. We have no natural armor, no claws, no venom. A single strike from your would kill most humans instantly. Then how, gestured at Bora, how did a species like yours survive long enough to make this? Knelt down beside Bora. She ran her hand through the dog's fur and Bora leaned into the touch. Because we were never alone. That's the secret. That's what makes humans different. Another figure entered the arena. It was dressed in a formal military uniform. He carried a data tablet. His expression was serious as he approached. "May I?" asked. She nodded, "Please." Activated the tablet, and a holographic display appeared above the arena floor. Images began to form, moving pictures from Earth's history. "This is what you need to understand about humanity," said. His voice carried authority. "We didn't just partner with wolves, we partnered with everything." The hologram showed ancient humans working alongside dogs to hunt massive animals. Mammoths, giant bison, creatures that dwarfed both human and canine. 40,000 years ago, continued, our ancestors were just starting to move across the planet. They were vulnerable. They were prey to dozens of different predators, but they had something no other species had. They had the ability to look at another predator and see not an enemy, but a potential ally. The image changed. Now it showed humans with horses, with cattle, with birds of prey perched on their arms. "We domesticated over 50 different species," Minu's voice added from the speakers. "We took wild animals and turned them into partners. We didn't do it with all species, only the ones that could understand us, the ones smart enough to learn, the ones loyal enough to stay." The hologram changed again. Now it showed dogs in armor, running beside human soldiers in ancient battles, dogs pulling sleds across frozen wastelands, dogs leading blind humans through crowded streets, dogs sitting beside children, guarding them while they slept. "Dogs are special," said. She stood up, still keeping one hand on Bora's head. "They don't just work with us, they love us. They bond with us. A dog will defend its human even against impossible odds, even unto death." "Why?" asked. He sounded genuinely curious now. "Why would any creature do that?" "Because we did the same for them," said simply. "We fed them when they were hungry. We sheltered them when they were cold. We cared for them when they were sick. We didn't just tame wolves. We became part of their pack, and they became part of ours." The hologram showed modern military dogs now. K9 units working with human handlers, detection dogs finding explosives, search and rescue dogs pulling people from rubble. "We bred them for specific purposes," explained. "Tracking dogs who can follow a scent across miles of terrain, guard dogs who will fight to protect their families, herding dogs who can control animals 50 times their size, police dogs who can take down armed criminals, military dogs who will run into combat without hesitation." He tapped the tablet and the display changed to show rows and rows of statistics, numbers, data. Earth currently has approximately 900 million domestic dogs. That's one dog for every 8 humans. They live in our homes. They eat at our tables. They sleep in our beds. They are not pets. They are family. Looked at the numbers, his eyes widened. 900 million all trained like this. Not all, admitted. Most dogs live peaceful lives as companions. They play with children. They comfort the elderly. They help people with disabilities. But every single one of them has the instinct, the ability to become what you just saw, because it's in their blood, in their genes. 40,000 years of evolution, all focused on one goal: partnership with humans. An alien in the crowd called out, but the human gave it commands. It obeyed. That means the dog is controlled, predictable. Smiled, controlled. No, Bora chooses to obey because she trusts me, because we've trained together for years, because we understand each other. Watch. She took several steps away from Bora. The dog remained sitting, watching her with those intelligent eyes. "Stay," said clearly. She walked to the other side of the arena, 20 feet away. 30, 40. Bora didn't move. Her eyes tracked movement, but she stayed exactly where she was. Picked up a piece of debris from this cage. She threw it across the arena. It clattered and bounced. Bora's ears perked up. Her eyes followed the object, but she didn't move. You see, said, every instinct tells her to chase, to grab, to hunt, but she doesn't, because I told her to stay. She turned her back on Bora. She walked toward the exit door, 10 steps, 20, 30. She could no longer see the dog. Behind her, Bora remained sitting, watching, waiting. Whistled just once, a simple, clear note. Bora exploded into motion. She covered the distance in seconds, her paws barely touching the ground. She reached and sat immediately at her side, looking up with eyes full of joy and pride. That, said, is not control, that is trust, that is loyalty, that is 40,000 years of partnership. She looked up at the crowd of aliens. You asked to see Earth's apex predator, but Bora isn't our apex predator. She's our partner, our companion, our friend. Stepped forward again. And that's what makes humans dangerous. Not because we're strong, not because we have natural weapons, but because we can look at any species, any creature, any potential enemy and ask ourselves, can we work together? The hologram changed one final time. Now it showed Earth itself spinning in space. Then it zoomed in, showing cities full of humans and dogs, parks where children played with puppies, hospitals where therapy dogs comforted patients, disaster sites where search dogs saved lives. 900 million dogs, repeated, all of them descendants of wolves, all of them bonded to human families, all of them willing to fight, to defend, to die for their humans, and we would do the same for them. He looked directly at, you asked if humans are a prey species. Maybe we were once, but we learned that survival isn't about being the biggest or the strongest. It's about being smart enough to know when to make a friend instead of fighting an enemy. Bora sat beside her, tail wagging slowly. She looked completely harmless now, just a dog, just a companion animal. But every alien in that chamber had seen what she could do, what she was capable of when her human needed her. And they understood, perhaps for the first time, what humanity really was. Not prey, not predators, something far more dangerous. A species that turned predators into partners. Or stepped forward into the center of the arena. The shimmering arbiter looked at, then at Bora, then up at the assembled council members. The silence was heavy with anticipation. The beast trial has concluded, or announced. The human's companion has demonstrated remarkable capability. However, I must ask for clarification. Nodded, of course. The trial was meant to showcase each species' apex predator, or said carefully. You claim this dog is not your apex predator, so I ask directly, what is humanity's apex predator? Was quiet for a moment. She looked down at Bora, who looked back up at her with complete trust and devotion. Then she looked at and, finally, she turned to face the entire council. We are, she said simply. The chamber erupted in noise. Aliens called out in confusion and protest. His voice rose above them all. Impossible. Humans have no natural weapons. No, agreed. We don't. But let me tell you about human ancestors, about what we had to survive. She began to walk slowly around the arena as she spoke. 2 million years ago, humans stood upright on 2 legs. This made us slow, easy to catch. We couldn't climb trees well anymore. We had no claws to fight with, no sharp teeth to bite with. We should have died out. The crowd quieted, listening. But we didn't. Instead, we developed something far more dangerous than claws or teeth. We developed endurance. Humans can run for hours, days. We would chase prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. It's called persistence hunting. Activated the hologram again. It showed human hunters jogging after an antelope across an African plain. Hours passed in accelerated time. The antelope ran in bursts, then stopped to rest. But the humans never stopped. They just kept coming, walking, jogging, never fast but never stopping. The prey would run, continued, but we would follow. It would rest, but we would keep coming. Eventually, the animal would collapse, unable to run anymore, and we would walk up to it and kill it with simple stone tools. The hologram showed the final moments. The exhausted antelope unable to move, the humans approaching calmly. It was disturbing in its simplicity, its inevitability. That's what makes humans the apex predator, said. We don't give up, we don't stop. We will chase you to the ends of the earth if we have to. You can be faster, you can be stronger, but can you outlast us? Minu's voice came over the speakers again. Human endurance is unique in the animal kingdom. We can travel 50 miles in a day and do it again the next day, and the next, and the next. Most predators need to rest for days after a hunt. Humans hunted every single day. An alien in the crowd spoke up. But that was ancient history. Modern humans don't hunt like that anymore. Don't we? Asked. He tapped his tablet. Let me tell you about human military training. New soldiers run for miles every morning. They march for days carrying heavy equipment. They train in deserts, mountains, jungles, frozen wastelands. We don't do this because it's easy. We do it because endurance is in our blood. The hologram changed. It showed human soldiers on long marches, marathon runners pushing through exhaustion, search and rescue teams hiking through mountains for days to find lost hikers. Humans run for fun, said. We have competitions where people run for 26 miles. Some run for 100 miles, through deserts, up mountains. We do it just to prove we can. Shook his head. Endurance is not enough to make an apex predator. You're right, said. So let me tell you about human intelligence, about weapons. She gestured and pulled out a small object. It looked harmless, just a curved piece of wood. This is a weapon called a boomerang, explained. Humans invented it over 20,000 years ago. You throw it and it comes back to you, but that's not the impressive part. She handed it to who threw it across the arena. It curved through the air in a wide arc and came back to him. He caught it easily. The impressive part, continued, is that humans can throw. We can throw objects with incredible accuracy at incredible speeds. A human can throw a rock at 70 miles per hour and hit a target 50 feet away. No other species can do this. Throwing, an alien laughed. That's your great weapon. Yes, said seriously. Because once you can throw, you can kill from a distance. You can hunt prey without getting close. You can fight predators without risking your life. We invented spears, arrows, slings, javelins. We killed our prey and our enemies from distances they couldn't even reach us from. The hologram showed human evolution of weapons. Stone tools, spears, bows and arrows, crossbows, guns, missiles. Each one allowing humans to kill from farther and farther away. And then, said darkly, we got really good at it. The hologram showed modern human weapons, fighter jets, cruise missiles, long-range artillery, orbital weapons platforms. A single human soldier, said, can call down fire from aircraft 20 miles away, can launch missiles that travel at supersonic speeds, can destroy targets they can't even see with their own eyes. We can kill from distances measured in miles, in hundreds of miles. He looked at, you're as dangerous up close, but how does it fight an enemy it can never reach? How does it chase prey that kills it from the horizon? The chamber was silent now. The aliens were beginning to understand. But weapons require cooperation, an alien argued. Humans alone are still weak. Are they? Asked. She walked back to the center of the arena. Let me tell you the most frightening thing about humans, about what makes us true apex predators. She paused, making sure everyone was listening. We remember, she said softly, and we never forgive. The hologram changed again. It showed human civilizations rising and falling, Wars, conflicts, but also something else. Libraries, schools, written language. Every lesson learned by every human is preserved, explained. Written down, taught to the next generation. We don't have to learn how to hunt, we read about it. We don't have to discover fire. We're taught as children. Every human alive today carries the knowledge of every human who came before. And we hold grudges, added. His voice was cold now. Humans have fought wars that lasted centuries, generations of humans dying but the war continuing, because we don't forget. We pass down our anger, our need for justice, to our children and our children's children. Looked uncomfortable now. You're saying humans are vindictive. I'm saying we're thorough, replied. If you make an enemy of humanity, you don't just make an enemy of the humans alive today. You make an enemy of every human that will ever be born, and we will remember, and we will come for you. Maybe not today, maybe not this year, but eventually. Always. Raised her hand. But we don't want that. That's why we're here. That's why we seek peace. Because we know what we're capable of. We know what happens when humans go to war. She knelt beside Bora again. We took wolves, the most successful predators on our planet, and we made them better. We made them faster, stronger, smarter. And we made 900 million of them, all loyal to us. She stood up. That's what humans do. We don't fight alone. We make allies, we make partners, we make friends. And together we become unstoppable. Or spoke. I believe I understand now. The trial was not about the dog at all. No, agreed. It was about showing the council what humanity is. We're not the biggest, we're not the strongest, we're not the fastest, but we're patient, we're smart, we're cooperative, and we never ever give up. Approached her slowly. He looked different now. The arrogance was gone. In its place was something like respect or caution. My objection, he said formally. Humanity has proven itself worthy of trade rights, more than worthy. Or's voice rang out. The Council recognizes Earth's petition. Trade routes are hereby opened. Welcome to the galactic community, humanity. The chamber filled with sounds. Some aliens applauded. Others looked worried. A few were already leaving, probably to report back to their governments about what they had witnessed. Bowed to the Arbiter, then she looked at. Thank you for the lesson. You taught us something valuable today. What lesson? Asked confused. That the galaxy still thinks in terms of individual strength. Single predators, lone hunters, smiled. But that's not how Earth works. We're a planet of partners, of alliances, of bonds that run deeper than blood. She gestured to Bora, who sat calmly at her feet. You see a dog. I see 40,000 years of friendship. You see a pet. I see a warrior who would die for me as I would die for her. Join them, and as well. The three humans stood together, with Bora sitting proudly among them. That's the message we want to send to the galaxy, said. Humanity doesn't want to conquer. We want to cooperate. We want to share. We want to build friendships that last, but if you threaten us. She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't need to. Nodded slowly. I understand, and I will share this understanding with the Empire. As the humans prepared to leave, aliens approached them from all sides. Some wanted to examine Bora more closely. Others wanted to discuss trade agreements. A few wanted to learn more about Earth's history. Answered their questions patiently. Bora sat beside her, occasionally accepting pets from brave aliens who approached carefully. The dog's tail wagged friendly now, all traces of the hunter gone. But watched from a distance. After everyone had left, he returned to his quarters and opened a secured communication channel. He pulled up data files on Earth, on human history, on what they had accomplished. He watched footage of humans with dogs, thousands of videos, dogs herding sheep, dogs guarding children, dogs pulling people from burning buildings, dogs detecting diseases, dogs comforting soldiers with trauma, dogs playing fetch in parks. But he also watched other footage. Military K-9 units in combat, police dogs taking down criminals, search dogs finding victims in disasters, guard dogs defending their families against intruders. And he understood finally what had been trying to say. Humans hadn't brought their apex predator to the trial. They had brought a friend, a companion, a partner. Because humans themselves were the apex predator. And they had been all along.